Well, in this lecture, we will first study about like recall all the different three scales of temperature, that is Celsius scale, degree Fahrenheit scale, and Kelvin scale. The Kelvin scale, here Kelvin is the SI unit of temperature, and the last one is the Fahrenheit scale. How we can bring about the conversion between all three? Let's suppose if we want to convert the degree Celsius to Kelvin, we simply need to add 273 to whatever temperature is there in degrees Celsius. It will get converted into Kelvin. Then again, like in case if we want to convert the degree Celsius temperature to Fahrenheit, then the formula will be that first of all we have to add 32, and then we need to put in this formula whatever temperature is there in degree Celsius. Now this will get converted into degree Fahrenheit. So basically here this factor, how it has come about, we knew that the 100 divisions on the Celsius scale were equal to 180 divisions on the Fahrenheit scale. This means 1 degree Celsius will make up 180 by 100, and for every 1 degree Celsius. And to top it all, the Fahrenheit scale was starting from 32 degree Fahrenheit, so we are going to like add up 32. So this way this formula has come up. Then let us say we are given a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius and we have to convert it into degree Fahrenheit. So the formula will be that first of all we have to add 32, and then by substituting in the above given formula we'll be doing it, and it will come out to be 77 degree Fahrenheit. Then next we have we'll discuss about the topic precision and accuracy. Precision and accuracy. Basically, when we are talking of physical properties, we have to measure the physical properties by different methods, by different instruments, and the accuracy, that the measurement is true, the measurement is right or not, it depends upon two factors. The first factor is the device itself, how much accurate your device is, and the second is minimum errors from the side of the one who's measuring it, the person. So this means that here minimum error should be there from the side of a person who's measuring, means that it will account for the skill. If the skills are good of the person who's measuring, then greater accuracy will be there. Secondly, the measuring device which we are using should also be too much accurate. So what we do to find out the accuracy, we go for multiple measurements. हम बहुत सारे measurements करते हैं किसी भी पर्टिकुलर फिजिकल क्वांटिटी को मेजर करने के लिए, और वो जो मल्टीपल मेजरमेंट्स हैं उनका हम एवरेज फाइंड आउट करते हैं, और उस एवरेज वैल्यू को फिर हम कंपेयर करते हैं विद द ट्रू वैल्यू. इफ़ दिस एवरेज वैल्यू इज़ समवॉट लाइंग वेरी क्लोज टू द ट्रू वैल्यू, तो हम कहते हैं कि ये रीडिंग हमारी उतनी ही एक्यूरेट है. एंड सो फाइनली two terms are there whenever we talk of any measuring device. First is accuracy, second is precision. Here we will talk about the precision as well as accuracy. Precision refers to if all the values are very close to each other, just like this is the first case. We are taking one measuring device, we are taking 5 readings, these are all different 5 readings, and if these 5 readings are lying very close to each other, let's suppose if the value is 2.01, 2.02, 2.03, 2.04 and 2.05, and let's suppose this 2.03 is the average of all these values, and the correct value is also that is 2.03. So we will say that the measuring device is both accurate and precise. When we talk of precision, we talk of how close your values are. Like since the values, all the 5 readings are very close to each other, as we can see here, so we will say that in this one the values are very close to each other. This means they are highly precise. Secondly, the average value of these measurement is lying very close to the correct value, so we say that it is accurate as well. Then we talk of the second case. In the second case, we will see 5 readings have been taken by the measuring device, but these 5 readings, when we calculate, these are very close to each other. This means it is precise. it's highly precise, the measuring device. But when we calculate the average value, this average value is very far away from the correct value. This means that this is precise, but then it is not accurate. Accuracy refers to that when the average value of all the readings lie very close to the correct value, then we say that the measuring device is accurate. But here precision is okay, the measuring device is precise but not accurate. Then we take the third case. In the third case, you will come across that all the 5 readings, they are having a gap in between. This means it can be possible that the one value is 2.03, another value is 3.03, another value is 4.03. This is 1.03, this is 0.03. This means there is a huge gap between the readings itself. The values are very far away from each other. This means it is not precise. But when we calculated the average of all these 5 readings, it was lying exactly near to the correct value. So we say that it was accurate. This means it's not always necessary that if the measuring device is accurate, it's not always necessary that it will be precise also. See, in the second case we have seen the measuring device is precise but not accurate. In the third case we have seen the measuring device is accurate but not precise. Now let us see what happens in the fourth case. In the fourth case we will see that all the readings, they are having gap in between. This means all the values are far away from each other. This means that they are not precise. First. Second, when we calculated the average value, it is again very far away from the correct value, which shows that it is not accurate as well. This means that in the fourth case, it is neither precise nor accurate. Now let us talk about the significant figures. Whenever we are measuring any physical quantity, we refer it in terms of a particular number. Let's suppose the reading is 14.5678 gram. This is the you can say the weight of any particular substance being measured by a weighing balance. Here the measuring device is weighing balance, and we say that all the digits are significant except for the last digit. This means that there is little bit uncertainty with regard to last digit, and here the reading can be lie in the range of 14.5677 to 14.5679. So only the last digit is uncertain, remaining all digits are significant. So here when we have to calculate the significant figures, we have to calculate all the digits which are certain, as well as we count the last digit also which is uncertain, to find out the total number of significant figures. Now let us suppose if we say 14.5678. in this figure, total number of significant figures will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The total significant figures will be 6. Let's suppose if the number is 2.5, total number of significant figures will be 1, 2, so it's 2. If it is 2.014, the number of significant figures will be 1, 2, 3, 4, that is 4. Now how we are calculating these significant figures is basically depending upon certain rules which we are going to follow one by one. Rule number 1. In the rule number 1, it states all the non-zero numbers and the zeros which are between the non-zero digits will be counted as a significant figures. So let's suppose if we say 5, 7, 6, all are non-zero digits. This means 1, 2, 3. So total number of significant figures are 3. Let's suppose we take one more number. These are non-zeros and these are zeros which are between the non-zero digits. These will also be counted in the significant figures. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So total number of significant figures in this will be 4. Let's suppose if we say 0.48. Now will this be counted? No. Why? Because this is not between the non-zero digits. This means total number of significant figures will be 1, 2. That is 2. Then 2.05. Here the 0 is lying between the two non-zero digits. So it will be counted as significant figure. So 1, 2 and 3. So total number of significant figures will be 3. Now let us come to rule number 2. The rule number 2 states zeros which are lying to the left of the first digit are never counted as significant. Not to the right. This is the right and this is the left. The zeros which are there to the left of the first digit are never counted. They basically just indicate the position of the decimal point. Let's suppose if I say the number is 0.05 and you have to find out the significant figures. These zeros which are there towards the left, they are only indicating this position of this decimal point, so we will not count them as significant figures. So total number of significant figures will be here just 1. Now let us take one more example, 0.0045. Here these zeros again are non-significant. Why? Because they are to the left of the first digit. So only this 1, 2, these will be counted as significant. Fine. So this was rule number 2. Now let us come over to rule number 3. Rule number 3 states zeros to the right of the decimal point and which are after the number are significant. I repeat again, zeros which are to the right of decimal point and which are after the number, they are counted as significant. Now let us take some examples. If we say 5.0, here this is 0 is here, it is to the right and it is after a particular number, so it will be counted as significant. So total number of significant figures in this will be 1, 2, that is 2. Let's take one more example, 2.500, zeros to the right and that too after the number, so they will be significant. So total number of significant figures will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 is the answer. Then let's see 2.50, again here 1, 2, 3. Then let's say 0.0200. Here these zeros are to the left, so they are non-significant, but these zeros are to the right and they are after a number, so they are significant. So total number of significant figures will be 1, 2, 3, that is 3 here. This was rule number 3. Then next we come to rule number 4. The number which ends in 0 but 0 is to the right of the decimal point, so it can be significant, it cannot be significant depending upon how we are placing it. So let's suppose we take certain examples, then maybe the rule will become more clear. The number ending in 0 but the zeros to the right of the decimal point may be significant or may not be. Let's suppose if we take 1.05 into 10 to the power 4. Here total number of significant figures are 1, 2, 3. Let's take one more example. If we again mention one more 0 here, the value is same, but here the number of significant figures will be different. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here again like 1.0500, again here these are all 3 same digits, but the number of significant figures are different in all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So total number of significant figures are 5. Here this method of representing a number is basically exponential form. When we say exponential form, we always express it in the manner like this. This is an integer whose value lies between 1 to 10 and this is the exponent. This exponent can be positive, it can be negative, and basically this notation is used when very large numbers are there or very small numbers are there. So we don't have to write such a big big number of digits. We simply express them in the exponential form. Let's suppose if we talk of Avogadro number, which we indicate like this, the value is 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. Let's suppose if we don't use the exponential form, how are we going to represent it? It's like 60230000000 till 23 zeros are there and so on. So it's like very cumbersome to express the number like this. So very large digits and very small digits are generally expressed in this exponential form. Now let us see that how these numbers which are mentioned in the exponential form, how are we doing the like multiplication or division, these kinds of operations, how are they done on the exponential numbers. Let's suppose first we talk of multiplication, and we are taking the two numbers which are expressed at in the exponential form, 5.7 into 10 to the power 6, and we are multiplying this number with 4.2 into 10 to the power 5. In this case what we will have, first of all, this integer value we will multiply it separately, and the exponent which we are using we will simply add it. So this is how we are going to solve it. That is 5.7 into 4.2, this we will calculate, and finally we'll just mention 10 to the power 11. This is how we are going for the multiplication. Let's take one more example. Two the numbers are there in the exponential form. One is 5.7 10 to the power minus 4, and we are multiplying it with another exponential number 4.2 into 10 to the power minus 2. Here again, what we are going to do, the integer values we will multiply first, 5.7 into 4.2, and the exponential numbers we are simply going to add their powers, minus 4 minus 2. So it is going to be 5.7 into 4.2 into 10 to the power minus 6. This is how we are going to do, and the answer will be 23.94 into 10 to the power minus 6. Now let's suppose if we have to do division using these exponential numbers, then how we are going to do it. 5.7 into 10 to the power 6, this is 1, divided by 4.2 into 10 to the power 3. In this case again, first of all we will divide one integer value with another integer value, 5.7 divided by 4.2, and the exponential numbers, previously in multiplication we were adding the powers, but here we will do the opposite, we will subtract the powers, that is 6 minus 3. So the answer will be 1.357 into 10 to the power 6 minus 3 will be 3. So this is how we are doing these operations of multiplication and division on the exponential numbers.